Hi, this is Marcia.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Marcia.
How are you
I'm
today?
doing well. It's been a month. Or
I know.
I could say it this way. It's been a month. Or I could say, it has been a month.
Yes, well, it's been a little challenging, right?
Well, yes. I'll just say that my teaching load is, and teaching online, is not back to normal because I'm not teaching in the way that I'm normally used to. And in the past semesters, there was a little bit of grace, right? Everybody was kind of giving each other grace. Well, we had this deadline for this, but we're going to relax it for you because of all this online teaching. And now this academic year, it's kind of like, well, the pandemic's over, so back to work. It's like, no, it's not over.
No, it's not really over.
I'm still struggling with the online teaching, and my students are still struggling with their lives. And anyway, so, but all the usual academic calendar deadlines are all back in full force. It used to be just like the essential things. Last year it was just the essential things that were there. And this year we're back to everything. So I'm struggling to keep up, working really hard on the weekends and then getting resentful and saying, I'm going to take the whole day off and doing nothing. And then the next weekend means I'm really
kind of paying the price for that, right?
Yeah. So I'm behind on grading and but it's really nice to be talking to you.
I know, it's been a while. So
yeah.
I don't know if listeners know, but you edit the podcast and then you post it. And I noticed it had been a while. We'd recorded, but the episode 171, I think, or 172, I can't remember. Anyway, but it had not been posted, and I didn't want to call because I suspected what was going on.
You didn't want to add to my pressure.
I did not want to add any pressure to the pressure. So,
well, thanks. Yeah.
Well,
but I'm glad to be back. I am sitting out in the trailer today, and the weather is gorgeous.
Oh, really?
It's 71 degrees. It's a little hot in the trailer because now that the sun is lower, it comes right in the window. So it gets hot in the afternoon if the sun is out. But we had like close to 2 inches of rain in one 12-hour period.
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Earlier this week? Yeah. We didn't have anything like what some parts of California had. That whole day, we kept waiting and waiting and waiting, and there was rain everywhere, but didn't come as far south as us. There was a gap in the middle of the state, and we were part of that gap in the middle of the state. That didn't get rain all day, but then we did finally get rain in the evening. And the dog dish, I always use the dog dish as my rain gauge. Those metal dog dishes were almost totally full, about 2 inches. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nice to have rain. Well, we've had rain here, and we had a windstorm come through. What day was it? Oh, Sunday, because I had gotten together with Kim and we took the dogs to Magnuson and it was pouring down rain. And then we went back to her house to have a cup of tea and knit and hang out for a little bit before I went home. And as we got out of the car, the wind just kicked up, super wild blowing. And then I walked an hour, I was there for 2 hours probably. And then beautiful sun came out. But when I walked home, there's all the little branches and it was just on the road and everything. So we've had a lot of high wind, and I got home and the picnic table cover blown off and the grill cover blown off. And so,
wow.
But to me, it was not, I mean, just having a lot of rain here is not a big deal.
Right.
It's a non-conversation starter.
Yeah.
The amount of rain we have.
Well, and I mean, I can't ever remember having that volume of rain in such a short period of time. Yeah. I mean, just it doesn't do that here. Even when it does rain, we don't have that sort of soaking rain going for hours and hours and hours and hours. You know, I'll feel like it's a lot of rain and it'll be less than an inch. So to get 2 inches in one overnight period is just a lot.
That's a lot.
I think San Francisco got 4 inches in one day, which again, probably the record. That's probably their record rainfall.
They were showing on the news that there was flooding in San Francisco. Yeah. I'm sure there's flooding everywhere. But,
yeah. And we didn't have, I mean, there's a dip in the road where the slough used to be that sometimes will flood, and a couple of times has flooded enough that it has run onto the sidewalk and then down into our yard. And that didn't happen even during the night. That didn't even happen. So we didn't have anything like what they had in other areas. But I'm just grateful that the fire season is now, at least all the current fires are considered to be out. So that's good. Yeah. They haven't declared the fire season officially over, but I think it's probably likely that that will come soon. So,
well, should we talk projects?
Before we do have just a little bit of housekeeping.
Oh, yes, that's right. I have the notes in front of me, Kelly.
We're good.
I know. Oh my gosh.
So,
okay, yes.
Because of last time we were going to wait till the very next time to draw winners for the 3 Green Sisters giveaway thread, and then it took me so long to get the episode up. So I just want to do this right now and get it out of the way. I did the drawing right before we came on the podcast, Marcia, and we have a winner. It's Stash 46, who is Janie from Ohio. And she had 2 bags that she picked out of their website that, to say these are ones I like or that I think are particularly cute. And both of them were sheep bags. One was a fabric that had sort of whimsical sheep on it. And then the other one was the fabric that was designed by Sherry Magnuson with the Icelandic sheep. So, and I need to tell you. So this morning, this is when I was doing the drawing, I thought, I'm just going to look through this thread, one last time. And I looked through the thread and then I thought, I think I'll just go over to the 3 Green Sisters Etsy shop one last time.
Uh-oh, Kelly.
And I bought a table runner.
Oh, you did?
She had a table runner that is kind of a burgundy and gold chenille brocade. And it just looked like the dining room to me. So I bought it for Christmas. Because
nice.
I have one that I use. I have one that I had been using for Christmas, and it had candle wax had dripped on it, and it's not really washable. Well, it's washable, but it's like a stiff kind of a netting fabric. The candle wax that dripped on it kind of went into the netting of the fabric, and I can't really get it out. And I tried ironing it, with a paper towel and it didn't really work. But I've still been using it. The last couple of years, I've used it with a big wax stain on it. Just kind of strategically position things. But I thought, you know what? I'll just get a new one, and that one can go. And Robert will like it because it's fancy. And it's 70 inches long, which is long. Yeah. And my table is long. So I just thought, this has been sitting here waiting for me to buy it. So I did.
Good for you.
Yeah. So, and I got the 15% off. There's a coupon code EWES, the number 2. That's good for 15% off until the end of the year. So I got my 15% off, and I bought a new table runner. So
I'm looking at their site right now as you're talking.
Oh, yeah. I don't think, you won't be able to see the table runner that I bought. It has kind of the same pattern on it as the wallpaper.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so Janie, send me your address, Stash 46, Janie from Ohio. Send me your address, and I'll get that information to Suzanne at Three Green Sisters.
Yeah, very nice. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm distracted. I'm looking at the website. Okay, I'm going to close out that window, and don't look at that right now.
There were some cute bags in the thread that people picked out. I really liked the ones that were that embroidered fabric, kind of like the draperies that you bought. Yeah,
because I bought one of those bags.
Mm-hmm. I love that bag. There were a few more of those that people had pointed out as being nice, and then there were a couple of smaller ones that were just real springy. It reminded me of spring. A small yellow one and another kind of floral one that just reminded me of spring. And I thought those would be cute for a project bag that you get out in the spring and feel like spring colors.
I should look on the website too to see about how you clean the bags too, because I shouldn't admit this, but I will admit this in the podcast. But I went to Portland just on my own. I was down there, left Tuesday, came back Friday. And one night I had gotten a beer in the lobby, and I went up and put it on the nightstand next to the bed, and I was sitting on the bed working on my blanket, my Garter Squish Blanket, and I was charging my phone, and I went to look at my phone, and when I pulled it, it pulled almost a full beer.
Oh no.
In a glass into my project bag.
Oh, inside.
The big,
oh no.
In it. And fortunately, thank goodness, I had the blanket out of the bag, and the yarn was in a plastic Ziploc bag, so that none of that got wet, but the whole bag, it went in the bag.
Right.
So it's not, but it just smells like beer. And I was sort of worried driving home that, don't speed, because if you're pulled over, my whole car smell like beer. So I need to wash it, and I hesitate to put it in the washing machine. I think every day I think what I'm going to do is just soak it in the bathtub, fill the bathtub up and put some soapy water in there and kind of hand wash it just to, because it's not stained or anything, but.
Yeah. You poured a beer into your project bag.
Yes, right. But all I could think was, thank goodness that blanket was not in there.
Yeah. Well, that would wash too, but who wants to wash it while you're still knitting on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a pain.
That's true.
You could contact Suzanne, see what she suggests.
Yeah, I may do that, because I don't see, just initially on here, I don't see anything about washing it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway. Okay. So.
Speaking of your projects.
Yeah, speaking of projects. So, since I mentioned the Garter Squish Blanket, I'll talk about that. I'm completely 100% obsessed with this blanket. I need to stop knitting on it occasionally, but I really am struggling to stop knitting on it. So I had, Kelly originally had 9 balls of the back of the main color, and I am knitting with ball 7. So I only have 2 balls left.
All right.
I have about a 3-inch cake of, about a 3-inch cake of the color I'm working with now. So I just have 2 more balls for the main color, and then I have I'm knitting with the second of the contrasting colors.
Okay.
So I went through 1 through 15, and now I'm starting back at 1.
Okay.
I will say, I don't know what I did with my math, but you remember the last time we recorded, I had bought 3 skeins of Cascade 220 to dye because I thought I was going to be short. I'm not short. I don't know why I got my math off, but I did. So I really did not need to get those 3 skeins. So I think what I'm going to have to do now is so what is that? That means I have 13 cakes of 13 colors of the contrasting that still would need, in theory, still need to go in, but they're not going to all fit in. Right. So I think what I'm going to do is start, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. It's not the end of the world, but I have some sort of intense colored ones, and I'm wondering if I need to sort of repeat those intense color ones to balance it out a little bit, or I'm not really sure.
Yeah, lay it out and see. Yeah, because we had such an elaborate plan.
So, and all of that planning, when you come right down to it, right. I'm just winging it. So anyway, I dyed all that yarn, which was unnecessary, I think. But it really is it's just such a fun project.
And everything every picture you've showed me has been really pretty. So I have no doubt that regardless of the change of plans, it's still going to be really nice.
Yeah, it's going to be totally
And
fun,
I see that, I didn't write down the name, but I know that there was somebody in our group who was inspired to start one with a fingering weight. I'm just going to go check this out while you're talking.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know when I'm going to finish it, but I'm going pretty quickly here, because it does go really fast because it's on size 13 needles.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was Audrey Cat who is doing a garter squish along with you now, and Barbara, and she's using, she showed us a picture of her swatch in the group. And she's using fingering weight, 3 strands held together on a size 10 needle. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I think
that's going to be a lot of fingering weight yarn, though. Think of the yardage she'll go through.
I know that's going to be really good. She shows a pile in her project page. She shows a pile of, leftovers of fingering weight. And then also it looks like some full skeins, quite a few skeins that look like only a bit has been used, and then there's a whole Ziploc bag full of the leftovers that you have after you make a pair of socks, for example. She has a whole Ziploc bag full of those. So combination of full skeins and partial skeins. That I think that sounds like a really fun project. I don't have enough fingering weight yarns to do it, but I have made fingering weight held triple hats, baby hats, and I really talk about squish. That's going to be squish extreme, because putting 3 strands together, I don't know, there's just so much air in there.
Yeah.
Plus the garter stitch itself is a squishy stitch. So wow, that's going to be interesting to see. I'm interested to keep having updates on her project. So, Barbara, Audrey Cat, you're going to have to keep us updated on your progress.
So, but I would say this thing about this blanket now, it's so big that it's a little challenging. Okay, so right now we're recording, I'm sitting here and knitting on it. But I have to sit close to the microphone, so it's trying to figure out how to get it on my lap, while I knit on it and record. It's not exactly portable, but I do take it with me everywhere I go.
Well, and it's good for knitting in bed because you have room. If you're knitting on a bed, you have room for it. But if you're sitting in a chair somewhere, that's maybe not quite.
Yeah, it's you have to sort of hold it in your lap. Otherwise, if you just lay it on the floor, there's too much weight on the needles. You have to support it somehow.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's
really is a very, very addictive project. And I like. I'm really glad I split the skeins in half. So, and I think that's part of it. Is you want to see what the next color is going to look like.
Right.
And so, when you were up here, I actually have enough yarn to make another one. That's all, the yarn's all dyed. I wouldn't have to dye anything, but I think I would probably split the skeins.
Yeah.
Just because it's a
little more fun, I think, if you're going to get to the next color relatively soon. And I think it in some ways makes the blanket more interesting too. because you've got more changes going on.
And I will say the one thing that was different about this one, so the other one I made, I always made sure that I changed colors on the same side, because there is a definite, if you, like a garter stitch, if you change colors, sometimes on the wrong side it can look, you can, how do I describe that? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you get like a straight edge or a more jagged edge depending on which row you change on.
Yeah. So the first one I made, I always made sure I changed it on the the right side, so that it had those very clean lines between colors. This one, it doesn't matter. Like you really, you cannot tell that. So what I basically am just doing is spit splicing when I change colors. So I just have the very beginning where I cast on is the only thing I have to weave in.
Nice.
There's you can't tell the difference.
That's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
Okay. So enough of that. I don't know what I'm going to talk about when I'm done with this. So I'm also on my list here of projects is the Nanny Meier tea cozy that I'm making for my friend Brian. But you remember when we recorded, it's been as the last episode, I'd asked him twice to measure his teapot. I still haven't heard from him. So I need to contact him and say, could you please measure that? Because I've not picked up that tea cozy in a month.
Yeah. It's been a month.
He needs to hop to it.
If you want this tea cozy, buddy, give me the measurements.
Get going. And then I also cast on a pair of socks using Patons Kroy Sock in the colorway Meadow Stripes. And this is the yarn I bought when we were down at the beach together in September. And Mark and I went into Aberdeen and Hoquiam. And I bought this in Hoquiam at that when I was at the shop where I bought the knitting needles.
Right.
I also bought some yarn. And as you know, I don't need any yarn, but I supported them. So I cast on a pair of socks using that.
Well, that's good. I need to cast on another pair of socks.
And the yardage is not a lot. It's, I guess it might be enough for, so where is it here? Each ball is 166 yards. And I usually get they're like 200 yards.
Right.
So I've only knit about an inch of it's about 2 inches I've knit, so not very much. I may get some other yarn for the heel and toes just to stretch it.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Or do you have something?
I looked and I don't really have anything because I got rid of all my yarn.
Oh, right.
And two trash bags went to the Goodwill. No, actually, so I should say about the colors, they're like it's a pink, like a coral and a pale pink and an aqua, dark aqua, like a light apple green and a dark green. So it's very pastel colors. And I don't know, I did buy some yarn for the t-shirt that I made, the walk along tee, in a navy. And I don't know if that would work with it or not. For
heels and toes?
For heels and toes.
Yeah.
Because I used just a very little bit of it for the t-shirt. And I'm sitting here, I didn't even think about it, so I didn't write this down, but I don't remember the name of the yarn, but it's 100% wool. And then in the sock, in the ball of yarn, they tucked in a little roll of, nylon.
Oh,
that you knit into it. And so for socks, you would definitely want to have that nylon in there, so I could, maybe I'll try it and see what the navy looks like with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just your heels and toes, so even if it doesn't look fabulous, it's still fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about, though, is the Atlas, the cardigan, not a cardigan, the pullover that I'm making for my brother.
Oh, yeah. I want to hear about this.
Yes, it's by Jared Flood, and I'm using Navia Tradition. Anyway, the last episode I was talking about how I was going to reach out to Joanne, Mom Diggity, who lives just a few blocks from me. And so she came over on Monday. And brought some of her sweaters, which are beautiful. And we talked about color work. And she thinks that her comments that she thought my color work was fine. Like it's not,
Mm-hmm.
she was really helpful, and I really appreciate her coming over. I think, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a swatch now of the yoke, the color work on size 10s. So the sweater, I've talked about this forever, but the body of the sweater is on 8s. The yoke is done on 9s. You go up a size. I think I'm going to go up to 10s, and I'm going to do a swatch and see how I like it. Mm-hmm. Also, she was showing me how she knits color work, and what I was doing is what the Jared Flood's tutorial, where you hold one color in your left hand and you pick, mm-hmm. and the other color in your right hand and you throw. And I wonder if that's not my natural way of knitting, and it may throw it. I may have been pulling too tight. Mm-hmm. So she was showing how she doesn't pick at all. She always holds the yarn in her right hand, and she basically just drops the yarn and picks up the next color, drops that, picks up the next color. Mm-hmm. And there's no pulling at all with her knitting. Now, the other thing she said, too, is a lot of the color work sweaters that she brought over were fingering weight or DK, where I'm doing something that's a worsted weight or even a heavy worsted. So she said, just the nature of the yarn, you are never going to have, the fabric with the color work is never going to feel like the fabric without the color work.
Right. Oh, so that makes sense. Because the other sweater that you were saying, your sweater from Iceland, that you mm-hmm. were saying, well, the color work doesn't feel any different from the rest of the body mm-hmm. of the sweater. Those are also finer yarns too, right?
Well, it's so the weight of the yarn is not, the weight of the yarn is like a worsted weight probably, but it's so light.
Right.
It's like they're singles and they're full of air.
Right.
So it's like a completely different yarn than this Navia, whatever mm-hmm. tradition is very dense. Yeah. It's a woolly wool. And so I thought that was really good to hear that from somebody else who mm-hmm. knows, who does a lot of color work.
Yeah.
And as Joanne says, she's not a technical knitter, but she's just done so much. She kind of knows how it should feel. And she said, it's just never going to feel that way because of the type of yarn it is.
That's good to know.
The reason why, And so I'm going to go up a needle size, do a swatch, going up a needle size. I'm going to switch and not try and knit, throw and pick at the same time. I'm just going to try dropping the yarn and picking up the other one and knitting that way on this, on my swatch. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to see and then see what the gauge is and how that's going to translate to the yoke, because when we were measuring it on mark, remember it's too small, it's too tight around the circumference, right?
Right. But it's also too short.
Correct. Yeah. Right. And so I think I'm going to, so I guess my question is, do I need to go up? So the body's a small. Do I need to go up to a medium on the yoke? I think I need to go up to a medium on the yoke for the depth, right? But do I need to go up to a medium in terms of the number of stitches around, or just going to a larger needle size? Will that be okay?
Yeah, I don't think you'll know until you swatch.
Yes, I have to swatch first.
And your row gauge is going to be important mm-hmm. in a way that I never pay attention to row gauge.
Right, I never pay attention to row gauge.
I shouldn't say that. I made a sideways sweater and I had to pay attention to row gauge, right? But most of the time, it doesn't really make any difference. So I don't pay attention to it. And in this case, it is going to make a difference because of the depth of the yoke.
Yes, I agree. And as I've never paid attention to row gauge, and you should, because I had the problem with the that coral sweater, right? Yes. So anyway, so it was really good to get her input. I really appreciated it, and it was nice to meet her too.
Yeah.
So my first thought was, I'm going to rip out the yoke. And I thought, no, I'm not going to rip out the yoke until I do my swatch, so I can compare.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So So I have some work to do. And then the other thing too, remember, not only do I have to make the yoke longer, increase the depth, because I was strangling Mark's armpits, but also I need to put more rows in from where the color work stops up to the collar, because do you remember it looked like a boat neck?
Yeah. Sort of like a, sort of like one of those, what do they call it? Ballet neckline?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's really what it's called, ballet. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I mean, I think they're kind of similar. I mean, I've seen men's sweaters with a boat neck, but the neckline of this sweater looked very much like a more feminine sweater. I think. Yes. It didn't really look like it didn't look like the neckline you would traditionally see in a men's sweater.
Yes, and I think the pictures don't look like that. And I think the problem is it's pulling because it's just not exactly. It's not long enough. It doesn't have enough depth, so it's pulling.
Yeah.
And the other thing I might too. I don't need to decide today at all, but when I get close to finish it, when I do the neckline, right now the neckline you basically just do stockinette and bind off. I'm wondering if I might do stockinette and then do like a row at purl. And then stockinette and then attach it, like make it a little bit thicker, because it does feel, to me, it feels a little like you have this the yoke is quite heavy, but then to have this sort of light collar. Yeah. I'm going to think about that too.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I don't exactly remember how the collar looks, but sometimes when there's been a couple of sweaters that I've knit that I've thought, I would really like this to be doubled, kind of like in a commercial sweater. How the neckline is it's almost like it's faced. It goes up and loops back and connects back, and I kind of like that look. And there's been a couple of sweaters that I've made that I thought, I think I would rather have had that in the neckline, but I didn't really know exactly how. I didn't know exactly how to do it. It was in a top-down sweater. Like, I'm not sure I even would know how to do that. And I'm not going to restart it. But this, you have the opportunity to do something like that if that makes it look more more balanced.
Yeah. So I have some work to do ahead of. I have some work ahead of me. But I'm kind of thinking, in hindsight, looking back at this, I don't know that this is the right yarn for this sweater. I think, like Mark fell in love with it. And he won color work. But I think it's a case of and me trying to, and I thought, I have not done color work. So I didn't really think about the fact that may not be the best yarn for a color work sweater. Yeah. And how when you look at the pattern and then you can click yarns, recommended yarns, or what other yarns people have used. Yeah. I should say on Ravelry. I didn't say that. People probably know I mean that. But on Ravelry, you can look up the pattern and see what other yarns. Nobody's used this yarn. I think there's a reason. Because I think it's just a little bit too dense and heavy for...
So I'm looking right now at Navia Tradition. And let's see what they have for projects. They have pattern ideas, but I'm just going to go and see what projects people have made. Oh, here's a sweater. It looks really stiff. It's a V-neck sweater, and it V-neck with ribbing, and the V-neck and ribbing on the sleeves and the waistline. Knit in pieces and seamed, but it does look rather stiff. Now here's a color work one. This is called Sietsma's Troygia Vio Münster.
Yes, I see that one.
That's actually very pretty. It looks nice.
So let me see what size.
And then there's a Felix. Somebody made a Felix sweater. That's the one, the raglan with the lace detail in the raglan.
So I'm just looking at this Troygia. It's I think this is Norwegian or something. But it is it says the yarn weight is bulky, and they use 9s is the largest, and I think I need to go up. I'm kind of curious.
And the color work is not as intricate, so you don't have as many strands going across.
I am looking, though. There's a lot of people have made hats.
Yeah.
No way would I ever wear this on my head. No, I don't know. Like, I just think it'd be so itchy.
Now, there's another sweater called Zappy Cat's Dying Breed Sweater.
Yes, I see this
and
one.
it's a color work yoke.
Yeah. And what size? And she used 10s, US 10. Oh, using US 10 needle for the collar, US 8 for everything else. But, the other thing, too, is you can't just, people knit loose and they knit tight.
Yeah,
so it's just kind of interesting. Here's somebody else, Wildcats Pows, 6 and 8s.
Okay, yeah. But I think you're onto something.
What am I on?
I think you're onto something.
Which part of all of this?
No, just
all the things I said.
Just the fact that the color work's not going to feel the same as the rest of the sweater. That you need to balance out the collar or the neckline thickness with the thickness of the yoke color work, and information that you've gotten is probably going to make it a lot easier for you to kind of know what you have. Doing a new swatch on bigger needles, and then just figuring out, do you need to go up even a pattern size?
I like things fitting a little loose. Sometimes they could be too loose and they look frumpy and sloppy, but I don't like, and I'm trying to, I like with t-shirts, I'm trying to knit things now that fit more slim fitting. My brother really likes things slim fitting.
Yeah.
And I think this sweater, like Icelandic sweaters, they have to be kind of loose fitting. They have to have a lot of ease, because you are going to wear them over, like a Pendleton wool shirt or a flannel shirt, because this sweater is really designed for being on the beach, outerwear. Cold. It's outerwear, yeah. You should go out fishing in this sweater. He's never going to go fishing. But I said, this is what you would wear fishing and hunting, where you're sitting in a duck blind or something all day. Exactly. He's never going to do that.
Or
anyway.
one of those ice fishing huts.
Yes, yeah. You drill a little hole in the ice, and this is...
Yeah, that gives me I have to say, all of you who live in places where you actually can go out on ice and drill holes in it and sit out there all day with a fishing line, that gives me the willies. The idea that you're on ice above all that water, just like, I don't think I could actually make myself go out there. But I'm a coastal,
a Californian,
coastal Californian. So what do I know?
Anyway, so it's just been a really, this project, I have to say, I was really hoping it'd be done, but but I say I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, and that's good. And that makes it interesting.
I think, and I'm grateful to Joanne that she came up and she had some really good input, and it was nice just to meet her and talk. We were here. She was at my house for about a little over 2 hours.
Fun.
It was really nice just talking to her too.
To talk to a knitting person in person. In person, right? Well, and I see so few people, really, like all of us. I think we're all. I'm so looking forward to next semester when I actually get to be in my office and having students in my classroom. Yeah, seeing my colleagues face to face, and really looking forward to that. So, but that's nice. I'm glad you guys got to get together. Yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to get together again too for maybe knitting or something. And also, she's a hiker. Maybe we'll go hiking.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Anyway, but Kelly, so that's all I have for my project.
Okay.
So how about you?
So since the last episode, when I was realizing in my frantic calendar looking that the deadline for Faye's birthday was like 4 or 5 days away, I did finish the Persian Tile Blanket that I'm calling Faye's Flower Blanket.
Congratulations.
Yes. Finished, washed, dried, photographed, ends woven in. thinking about your blanket and all the ends, I had a lot of ends. Mostly I wove them in as I went, but there were still a few stragglers that I ended up having to weave in. And I got it delivered. For some reason, I was thinking her birthday was the 10th first. And then it was like, no, wait, it's the 6th. Well, I was wrong. It was the 5th. But I did get it delivered to her on the 6th. So,
okay.
Yeah, she wasn't home. She was staying with her grandma, my sister, for her birthday, week as birthday celebration. So she didn't, I didn't get to deliver it right to her, but yeah, it was a hit. So
it's super cute.
Yeah.
And the pictures, it's really beautiful.
I really like it. I'm tempted to make another one, but I'm not going to start one right now.
I have to ask, was Faye as excited as everybody else was about this?
No, that you can't count on a let's see, 7-year-old. You can't count on a 7-year-old to be that excited about a blanket, honestly.
Yeah.
or to show it in the way that an adult would be, So,
yeah.
But no, I'm sure she loves it and thinks it's really cool. And she doesn't even remember, right? She wasn't the one who saw the picture of the thing made out of doilies. Like, I'm sure she doesn't even remember that. So, but I know she'll like it. She'll get a lot of use out of it over the years. So, and I had a great time. So that's done, finished, off my plate. And of course I have my dark green forest out of overdyed hand spun from a CVM fleece. And it's not had much love. A little bit of knitting over the course of the month, but I still have I think I maybe have about 3 to 4 inches of sleeve, the last sleeve to go. I'm kind of bored with it, to be honest. I don't like magic loop, and I'm doing the sleeves magic loop because I don't have exactly the size I need of needle in the size of the sleeve. So I'm doing magic loop. It's just not that much fun. I have to count because of the cable, and I keep losing track of where I am. And wait, am I supposed to start the cable now? Did I mark off that last row, or did I not? That kind of irritating stuff. So it's like not on my list of like things I most want to do.
Right.
When my day is over. But it'll get done. I mean, that fleece has been around since 2005, so it's not like I need to finish it in the next week or anything. It's been around long enough that it's it might have a shock if I finished it too fast.
Yeah.
So, but meanwhile, Robert did come home from work and say that he had a friend who had a baby, and so would I make a hat and booties? And so I made a hat. I made the Fennec hat by Alicia Weisberg-Roberts. And this pattern is, I think, really cute. It has I don't have a picture of my project because I didn't even think to take a picture of it. I have a siren going by. I'm out in the trailer today because I have work on either end of this recording, and I just didn't feel like packing all my stuff up. But anyway, it has this hat pattern. It has a cute little point at the top. Not like quite like a gnome, but sort of. There's just a hint of fairy or gnome in the shape of this hat. Don't you think?
Yeah, I'm looking at the pattern, and the baby's cute. With this little,
So,
but yeah, you're right, and it's an interesting pattern because it has that. I don't know, like what do you call it? It has like the yarns carry like a slip stitch or something.
It has a stitch pattern where you pull, like you slip a stitch and then you pull it over like 3 or 4 stitches. So you've got a yarn that's that's carrying horizontally around some stitches, and so that was kind of fun. It was a fun stitch pattern. It's a fast hat because I made the newborn size. And then I made worsted, it's called worsted booties. Actually, I'm not even sure that's really the name of it. The pattern doesn't even have like a title on it. It's from Bernat, and they're booties. I've linked to them in the show notes. It's the standard kind of booty pattern that sort of looks like a boot at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do short rows for the toe, and it comes up and you have a big cuff. So I made those, and in the same
these are cute.
yarn.
I'm looking at those too.
And I used I had been in a club, an Invictus Yarns heavyweight club, where it was their, like, everything above fingering. So I have some sport, some DK, some worsted, some chunky. And this was a worsted weight one that came in September. I think this was the last one I got. I think after this one I stopped. I had done it for like 6 months, which was kind of fun. I got some different yarns and different weights that that I didn't have a lot of. So I used that superwash. Is a worsted superwash by Invictus Yarns in a blue, and it's a kind of a blue and gray and teal colorway called Driftaway. And then got done with those two, and I thought, I'll make another hat. So I used some of the scraps from Faye's blanket, and I made a striped hat in sort of some of the more fall colors that were in the blanket. And then when I finished that, I thought, oh, you know what? I have this orange, and it's almost Halloween. I'll make a pumpkin hat. So I used some orange and green and made, one of those typical orange hats with a stem on top. Made a couple of leaves and a little crocheted curly Q, and so Robert mailed off the package. It had 3 hats in it and a pair of booties. And one, the one hat and booties, the hat and booties that matched, and then just a couple of extra hats. And the second hat, I partially made it because I was afraid the newborn hat might be too small. You never really know for sure. So I thought, well, if the newborn hat's too small, I'll make a little bit bigger hat. And that way, the baby can wear one of these hats or both of them, maybe, so. And then I just thought, a pumpkin hat would be good. So I did that. And I gave them all to, I don't know what I was thinking. I gave them all to Robert, never took a picture. Not one picture. Not the hat, not the booties, nothing. So.
Well, maybe they'll, maybe they'll send a picture of the baby in the hat,
Yeah, no, that would be good, because then I would have at least a picture to put into my into my project page. So I could put a picture of the yarn in the project page, but the heavyweight, the Invictus yarn, Captain Superwash, I could put a picture of that in. But yeah, I have no picture of the project at all. So that's been my month, finishing the tile blanket right after we talked last, and then nothing, and then a few nights in a row working on hat and booties.
I wish I knew somebody with a baby. I could make a hat and booties.
I know.
Those booties are so cute.
I know.
I don't know any. That doesn't mean I can't knit
them. Well, you could
but
knit them and
I have
just
nobody
keep them, or you could knit them and you could see if there's a place you can donate baby stuff.
Or maybe if I knit them, somebody will have a baby.
That's true.
Like if you build it, they will come.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah. That could be a little scary.
Yeah, Ben's not old enough to have children. But,
he is, but
he is old enough, but he shouldn't have them. But.
Yeah. Oh, funny. So anyway, yeah, that's my yarn projects. I have another project to talk about. It's a dog project of a sort. So it entertained my evening for a couple of evenings. So I had gotten the DNA test to do for Barry. And so I was afraid it was going to be really hard to actually get that thing in his mouth and get enough DNA on it. But he was actually pretty good. I had Robert hold him, and I stuck the thing in his mouth and scooped up enough DNA and sent it off. And so I get the results back. And one part of the results, I was really kind of surprised that his results were 94% German Shepherd DNA. Like, that's a lot. He doesn't look that. Yeah. He looks like a mix. But they said, it's his distant background where it's either his distant background or the distant background of his immediate ancestors that have, the other breed. And the most likely other breed that they gave me was Rottweiler.
Mm-hmm.
But because it's such a small amount, because it's mixed and there's such a small amount, they couldn't be certain. But they suspect Rottweiler is one of the breeds in that mix, which makes sense because he's so much more heavy boned, right, than a shepherd would be. Even now that he's lost weight, he just is heavier in bone. And I had asked one of the biology teachers at school, would all of that excess weight at a young age actually cause the bone structure to be different?
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you say?
Well, I didn't get really a good answer.
Okay.
It was kind of like, well, dogs, genetic, what's it called? Phenotypes, their look. Essentially, the genes that create the look of a dog are so varied, right? Everything from a Chihuahua to a Great Dane, even though it's the same species, that it's kind of hard to know if the changes in him would be due to that or just due to normal variation. But that it's possible that, the extra weight could have triggered a different way of the bone growing, right? So not a very satisfying answer, honestly. I wanted to know, exactly, could that happen? Could that create a dog that is just now going to be heavier, not because he's overweight, but because he has now a bigger bone structure than he would have otherwise without all that extra nutrition?
Well, I'm going to say, I think it would, because I know that people, that don't have as good nutrition are shorter.
Right.
They're smaller. So like we used to be smaller.
Right.
So I don't know. It's plausible that if you have, if you have less nutrition, you're not going to be as tall, as big as if you have just healthy nutrition. But then if you go to the other side of having too much nutrition, that it would make you heavier, maybe. I mean, you're not just fat, but just your bones would be bigger. I don't know. Yeah. It makes sense, right? If it can go one way, it could go the other way, right? I don't know.
And
like, we're not scientists, so don't quote us on anything.
And as my friend said, perhaps he's like the Shaquille O'Neal of German Shepherds.
Oh.
Like, there are people that are just bigger.
Yeah.
And so that was so unsatisfying answer. But then when I got the DNA results and saw, okay, so there's potentially Rottweiler back there that could have also shown up. But the best part of this is that they gave me a match to a potential sibling. 68% DNA match, potential full sibling, I guess, is what, if you have a that much DNA match, that indicates a full sibling. And
so that could be same litter or different litter but same parents?
Correct.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, this is really cool. And the woman who had, well, I'm assuming it was a woman. I don't know why I'm assuming that, but I'm assuming it was a woman who did the DNA on this dog that is a potential sibling, listed an Instagram account. So I went and looked at the Instagram account. I messaged her in Ancestry, and I also messaged her on Instagram. Correction, I wasn't on Ancestry, that's for people. I was on Embark, the one for dogs.
I'm going to stop you there for 1 second. So you register your dog on Ancestry just like you do with people?
Yeah. Or is it's not
it
called Ancestry. It was Embark is the one that I used.
Okay, but it's like the same idea that for dogs.
It's the same idea. You can choose to make certain amount of your information public, so that then if your dog matches another dog, they'll let the other people know. Okay. You can also choose not to make that information public, and if your dog matches another dog, no one will know. But I wanted to know, and I wanted to make my information available, and so did she, which was lucky for me. So I went onto Instagram and I sent her a message about Barry and that I thought he was young. So I was trying to figure out, I thought he was not 8 like they told me. So I was trying to figure out his age, get some indication of his age. And were there other puppies at the SPCA when she adopted her dog? So she messaged me back. We spent one whole evening messaging back and forth on Instagram. She messaged me back and she said, yes, there were. Let me go find the picture. So she goes back into the SPCA's social media and she finds this picture of a whole litter of puppies and a post. So she sends me the link to the post and it's like, the San Francisco Giants puppy litter available. Don't you want to start the baseball season? Because it was in March with these cuties. And there's, Madison and Pence and Buster and then Brandon, all for Giants, San Francisco Giants. It's dated in 2018, which is when she got her puppy. And honest to God, one of those puppies, all right away when I saw the pictures, like, oh yeah, that one's Barry. And she said, I think it's the one on the far right. And I messaged her back and I said, no, it's the second one from the right. I just know it looks exactly like him. And the ears are crooked like his ears. And his expression on his face looks just like his expression now. And so then she went back into the, I don't know if she was getting it from Facebook or Instagram, but she went back into the SPCA social media and got the individual baby picture. These are all like professional pictures that were done for a campaign, right? This individual baby picture of Barry and sends it to me. Oh my God. So cute. So I'm almost 100% sure. I mean, I feel 100% sure, but I guess I can't really be 100% sure that this is him. He was born in February of 2018, so he's 3.5, and he was adopted out with this litter of San Francisco Giants boys in March of 2018.
So he's not 8.
He is not 8.
That's the takeaway.
That's the takeaway. He is not 8.
You don't have an old dog.
No, I have a pair of youngsters, which is adding actually to my, my lack of time for things because young dogs take time. And now I don't just have one young dog and one old, lay in the patch of sunshine on the carpet dog. I have 2 youngsters who need exercise, attention, brain stimulation, fun and games. Yeah. Training, all that. Yeah. So anyway, super exciting news. I was thrilled to have this information.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting though that Barry was Buster Posey as a puppy. They named him that, and he was adopted out from the Monterey Bay SPCA, and that's where you got him too, right? So he was turned back into the same. Yeah. But they don't, because he's not chipped, right? So they wouldn't know.
Well,
he's not chipped, right? Is he?
He is chipped. Robert reminded me of this. He is chipped.
Oh, okay.
But I'm wondering if maybe they weren't chipping the dogs back in 2018. The puppies, maybe the puppies weren't chipped, or if they were, maybe with all of his weight, they just couldn't read it. I mean, I have no idea how those work, but maybe they just couldn't find it. They just couldn't read it because of all the weight. I don't know how the chips work, but it would seem like if he had been chipped as an SPCA dog, when they got him back, they would know that it was one of theirs. And I have no idea what happened to him after he got adopted out, right? He got adopted out. That person could have given him to someone else. The pandemic. The pandemic could have caused somebody to have to give up their dog or their apartment or whatever, you just don't know.
Yeah, you don't know. And the people who adopted him may not have been the ones who surrendered him. Surrendered him.
Exactly. So, how they got 8, I don't know. It was 8 years, 3 months. It was so specific that I thought it was for sure an age that was told to them when he was surrendered to the SPCA. Because if they were going to make an estimate of his age, they wouldn't make an estimate. I don't think they would make an estimate that was that specific, So anyway, but I don't know. I mean, maybe they estimated his age at 8 when he came in January, being, 60 some pounds overweight and low thyroid. And then it was 3 months later that we adopted him. So his age was now estimated as 8 years, 3 months. That I have no idea about. But, there's mysteries here that we will never know.
There's mysteries, and maybe he was 3. Someone wrote down 3 and someone read that as an 8.
Yeah, that's true.
It could be a simple clerical error, typo.
Yeah, we'll never know. But I do know he has a sister who lives in Santa Cruz.
Huh.
Yeah. Who looks a lot more like a German Shepherd than he does.
I just think this is so cool that you're able to get all this and find all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very cool.
Well, and it was all dependent on the fact that the other family got the DNA test and made their information available and had an Instagram account, because I don't know that she would have ever noticed that she had a message in Embark. And I don't know, maybe they sent her a message, but a lot of times when you have something like that, you put in an email address that you don't always look at because you don't want commercial email.
Right.
So anyway, lots of lucky accidents or coincidences leading up to the fact that I now know that my boy is 3.5, and not 8.
Well, it's you were, even before you did the DNA, you were suspicious.
Oh yeah,
that he was younger because his teeth were so good. And then as he lost weight, he didn't act like an 8-year-old.
No,
dog.
he got
acted
very
like an
naughty.
8-year-old dog. Yeah.
The more weight he lost, the more naughty he got. And I mean, so if he was 8 when we got him, he'd be on his way to 9. And he wasn't acting like any 8 or 9-year-old dog that I'd ever had. And we had dogs that did dog sports, so they were not inactive dogs. And at the age of 8 or 9, you could see the decline, the lower amount of energy, the more desire to sleep in the sun,
I'm sorry. As you're talking, I'm turning and looking over my shoulder at Enzo laying on the bed.
Yes.
He's flat as a pancake. He'll be 6 December 5th.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he acts more like an old dog than a young dog.
No. Bear. So I suspected he was younger, but I didn't know how much. And I couldn't be sure it was as young as it just knowing, and this is kind of silly too, but knowing just changes everything. Right? It means that I'm sort of having to reframe my view of who he is and what he's like and what his potential is and what I need to be doing with him right now at this age. Yeah,
he needs a lot more brain stimulation and more training, and you can't go, I have an 8.5-year-old, almost 9-year-old dog who's set in his ways. I'm gonna let that slide. Like that's just what we think. That's his thing. But now it's like, okay, well, we are going to change that.
Right. Exactly.
You have
Exactly. I wasn't planning to take him.
No idea what. I was going to say he has no idea how his life is about to change.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, but that was really good news. That was a fun little project. It was a couple of nights on the Instagram and then going back, and I did my own little dig into the SPCA's social media, and I found a picture of him in January when they did some campaign some fundraising campaign, and he was the dog that they had sitting there next to the giant check. You know how
really?
When they do fundraising things, they have those giant checks. So they had a giant check, and then Barry sitting there next to the giant check.
Oh, and now was that on Instagram?
That was on Instagram, yeah. So that was kind of fun. I don't know why, but it never occurred to me to go digging through their Instagram account. And then there were two other pictures of him on Instagram that were the same pictures that were on the website. So I had seen those pictures before. They were the ones that they had on the website when I first saw him and decided we needed to rescue him. Give this old dog a few good years. Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, that's all the news from our end, Marcia.
Okay.
We talked a little bit longer about him than I intended. I do want to talk about our Crochet-A-Long, and maybe I will leave some of these patterns to talk about next time. But we're going to have a Crochet-A-Long. We're going to start November 1st, about when this goes out. And it's going to go through mid-January, like January 10th. And this is inspired by the new crochet magazine that has come out, Mooret Magazine. And we're going to do this to celebrate Allison Chu. She's the editor. She's also the host of the Keep Calm and Carry Yarn podcast. And I'll just mention a couple of ideas today, since they're related to Halloween, which is coming up. So the very first one I saw when I started looking in the Hot Right Now crochet patterns is called Tiny Spider by Anastasia Cures. And it's crocheted with thread on a 0.4 or 0.5 millimeter hook.
Oh my goodness.
It is so tiny. It's like a thumbnail size. And I'm sitting here at the table in the
oh my gosh,
trailer.
Look at this thing.
Yeah. And I have a 0.5 millimeter mechanical pencil here. Like the hook that you would use is the diameter of a small mechanical pencil. The pencil lead. I mean, that blows my mind. But it's
like a little crocheted spider that is like the size of a thumbnail.
Yeah. Amazing. You have to take a look at this. I am intrigued, but also like I'm not sure I would ever want to do something like that.
You would lose when you were working on it, if you set it down in the wrong place, you would lose your project.
Exactly. It's so small. And then the other pattern that I saw, and actually, if you go to her website, she has all kinds of miniature things. And the miniature things range in size from, a bear that actually holds in your hand, like a hand-sized crochet bear, to this thumbnail-sized spider. Little rabbits that are also about thumbnail size. She has all kinds of miniature things on her website, but really cool. Worth a look at her patterns. And then the other one that I saw is called Postmortem, and it's by Anne Wanamaker. And it's a coffin-shaped piece of crocheted lace. And then the inside of the lace is a skeleton. It looks very Victorian. And a lot of her patterns have this sort of Victorian lace look, kind of creepy Victorian look. And so there's that pattern, which I think would be really fun to make. And then I also noticed when I went to her website, because she has a lot of that kind of stuff, she has this one thing, it's like a doily, a round pattern called Deathware. And it looks like Blue Willow, except it has skulls in it. So it's like the size of a Blue Willow plate, but it's got this design that you wouldn't notice right away. You'd first just think, oh, it's a crocheted Blue Willow plate kind of looking pattern.
It reminds me of that Calamity wear that has like a pterodactyls and zombie poodles on it.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. It
Very
says
cool
on it that it's an intermediate to advanced crochet
pattern.
I don't think so. So I think I think I would love to do it, but I don't know that I will. I don't know that I will do it. But that skeleton in the coffin is kind of cool. That's kind of a fun doily to have, I think. So anyway, so I'll mention those two. I'll have a few others that I'll mention. Oh, you know what? Might as well just mention them now since they're in the show notes.
Yeah.
So there's the Pebble Brook Beanie by Wish Upon a Hook. And this would make a really good pattern for leftovers. Anyway, it's a nice puffy stitch pattern. And then there's a shawl by Michelle Dunaire called Bees and Clover, which caught my eye because of the bees. And then the other designer that I would like to recommend people go look at is Toni Lipsey, Toni, Toni Lipsey. And the thing that I saw that I put in the show notes is a daydream shawl. But she has a lot of crochet patterns, nice crochet patterns, garments, shawls, hats, just a whole wide variety of crochet patterns. But the shawl is a big chunky weight, fringed, sort of bohemian looking triangle shawl, but it's made in Tunisian crochet. And I thought, oh, that looks kind of cool. So those are some crochet patterns. And then finally, the one I'm wearing today I was wearing this morning because it was cool, is the Habitat cardigan. And I have a link to that in the show notes as well. So there are some things to get you started if you're interested in joining us for the Crochet-A-Long.
Well, and while you've been going through these, I've been looking at them and the project pages, and this Pebble Brook beanie is interesting because it makes they look like baubles kind of, or and so on the pattern page it's like a solid color, but then if you look at some of the patterns, apparently they've made stripes, but the stripes don't look like stripes, they look like dots, different colored dots kind of. So it's
I was thinking that would be a good one to use for my my leftovers. I can make quite a few of them out of the leftovers.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I like stripes and I like doing the sort of fade kind of thing with leftovers. But sometimes you want something that's not quite that definite line of a stripe.
Yeah.
So there's some cute. So this is cute patterns,
really cute stuff. I don't really crochet a lot, but I'm interested in that beanie. That's pretty cute.
There you go. Yeah, and if you are interested, for those people who really are thinking of, doing a larger project, although she has some small projects too, I do recommend looking at Toni Lipsey's page because she's got a lot of crochet patterns, and there's some really cute ones. A number of shawls. She's got a basket. I was thinking, I need a basket to go in my bathroom. In that cabinet that I have in the bathroom, I can make a basket. So there are blankets and all kinds of stuff. So she's pretty prolific pattern designer for crochet. And I would recommend taking a look. TL Yarn Crafts. She has a blog. She has a blog, TL Yarn Crafts. And then she also has her patterns on Ravelry.
Yeah. Okay.
So check it out.
Cool.
So that's it, Marcia.
All right. Well, hopefully you won't have to do too much editing to this. So.
Yeah. Well, and I've got some time carved out for it, so I'm not going to let that happen again. So. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I guess on that note, we should say goodbye.
All right.
Because it's we're over an hour now. I'm seeing here. So. All right. Goodbye. I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.